Thanks. Is this gonna work? Is it working? I don't know. Can you guys hear me? No? Yes? Okay.
You gotta use the hand.
I gotta.
Recording.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Okay, yes, so I'm Eden Hakimzadeh, and a lot of people know me by Eden America, so hello. Nice to see you guys. I want to thank Olivia and Kara. They're not here today, so I'm kind of sad because they actually really helped guide me through this whole process and really gave me the confidence to think that I was capable of doing something like this, so I really want to thank them and Creative Mornings for supporting me. When Olivia asked me to do this, she told me the topic would be inclusion, and I was like, yes. But here's the deal. I have a really big fear of public speaking, so I don't even know why I said yes so quickly, but I trusted her and I felt really connected to this topic, and I just felt like I had to do it. So thank you for being here, for showing up. I was also nervous that nobody would show up today, so I have no idea why, because everyone shows up to Creative Mornings, but yeah, I feel really good. And I was talking to Joel about it before this, and he was like, it's just going to be all your friends that are there. And so it does feel nice to see people I know and hopefully new friends after this too. So I also want to thank ArtLink. I've learned so much from Maddie, and it's been really cool to see her grow as an artist and as a gallery director. And when you guys leave here, there's a really cool like donation thing back there. I don't know, did you created that? Yeah, that's a Maddie thing. So yeah, all you have to do is, you don't even have to like do anything, you just tip your card, it's perfect. It's exciting to see the space and to see artists come through the space, so thank you. I'm gonna read some things because I feel like I wanna make sure that I have some clarity in what I mean. And so I'm going to read a little bit about my background. So if you don't know me or know what I do outside of Instagram, or if you whatever, if you haven't seen me in other spaces, I'm going to introduce that a little bit. So my focus is on interlocking systems of oppression. It's a term coined by Audre Lorde. And it recognizes that institutional structures and cultural stereotypes often restrict or impede the quality of life a person experiences. This includes income or professional opportunity, access to healthcare and education, and agency over one's body. This intersectional feminist approach, that's a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, it has afforded me the architectural language to both challenge and create knowledge. It recognizes that people are made up of multiple identities, such as race, gender, or ability, and that they experience them all at once. Because of my academic career, it has given me the confidence to help host community events as intimate as poetry readings in my house, to community fundraisers, and even a high school outreach program here in Fort Wayne. I did that with the help of the WOS department at Purdue Fort Wayne. All of these experiences with my studies have molded my personal view on inclusion. And today I'm going to share what I've learned and where I'm currently resting at with the inclusive approach. So I also won't talk for a long time today because I think when we talk about inclusion, we should hear many voices. So I'm hoping that we can engage in dialogue. If you have work that you want to share, or if you have a question of how to be more inclusive in your practice, or just resources to further that part of you, please ask me either now or after this. You can DM me. Right now? Right now? At this moment now? It's not on? Oh, am I not talking? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to talk as loud as I could. I didn't even realize that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so anyways, so today I want us to rethink inclusion. I want us to think of it as a manifestation rather than a goal, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more clarity in that as I go on today. I have a lot of notes because I'm good at rambling, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Oh yeah. I have to do this too. Okay, so my first experience with the creative community here in Fort Wayne actually began with exposure, and this was an exhibit that Jennifer Ford Art Gallery hosted and that Bridget asked me to be a part of. So this was really a cool experience because it invited creatives of all different backgrounds, so not people who are traditionally shown in gallery spaces, to show their work and to connect community. And this is where I met a lot of people that I've collaborated with and that I'm friends with now today. And it was really cool because they invited me, and I don't really have any work to show. So the cool thing about it is we all selected 5 pictures from our Instagram, and we showed them in that gallery space. And it allowed people who aren't traditionally invited to the gallery to to show their work, and also people who don't normally attend art openings to come inside that. And I felt so grateful to be a part of this. And just really admired that their interest of bringing community to the gallery space, because I feel like I felt like there was some kind of segregation there or some disconnect. And I have to tell you, before I got asked to do that show, I had imagined myself having art opening, and I don't really know why, because I didn't have any work. But I just was like, I'm gonna do it. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'll figure it out. So when Bridget asked me, it was like an immediate yes. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is a chance. And that's kind of actually my first point that I want to get to today, is that you have to imagine that there's always space for me. And this was something that I learned. It's taken me a while to learn this, but something that I really appreciate learning, because I didn't realize that those two things were connected until actually bringing this talk together, is that I had to be able to see myself there to say yes to her. So I think to imagine a world where I was included, to be active, like an active role in, and to be successful in that role, I had to imagine myself doing that. And I think that's the same thing that needs to happen with inclusive practices, is that you have to imagine that they're possible, that we can do it. And that's kind of what I went back and forth with when I was thinking about inclusion, being really optimistic about it. Like, yes, we got it. These are the people in this room that are going to be able to help change, and we believe in that. And I felt that way because I've been invited to so many inclusive environments in Fort Wayne. But it's us, we are the only ones that feel that way here, that's my perspective. And so I was also depressed about it. I'm like, it's a lot of work, and it's not always rewarding, and doesn't always feel good. And when you're doing it, you want to include everyone, and sometimes you don't include everyone, and that doesn't make you feel great. So there's, these two things that were happening. One, I was thinking of times that I was invited to things and still felt excluded or not part of the group or not honored, or my work wasn't honored, or whatever. And also I thought about all the times that I made events. I'm like, who was I not inviting, and who was I not including? And that was really a struggle of mine with events for Botanical, because I wanted them to look like events for everyone, and I didn't always feel like I achieved that. So, but you know what? I think that they're possible regardless of the past experiences. We learn from them and we grow from them. And I also think they need to happen regardless of what your peers think that it should look like. So that's what Ruth and I did when we created Botanical. It was a gift out of that exposure show. They asked us to host one event that would bring people together and ask people to try something new. Our first workshop was a floral crown event, and so both of us were not public speakers or leaders or any kind of way, and it was a big challenge, because we had to see ourselves that way, and we also had to ask other people to see us that way, and so that was a challenge for both of us, but we had each other to lean on, and that was really cool. I hope that if you get to do any kind of community engagement projects, that you have a team or at least a partner that can really help you. I don't think that I would have been able to do that with her. I know, she's not here today, I'm sad. She's doing something cool though. So I'm really, really grateful for that partnership and that sisterhood, and that I think that can happen when you build together. So I think if you have the opportunity to co-create and collaborate, that you should take it. Especially, I'm the kind of person, I'm a control freak, so I like to do everything on my own. I don't like to delegate, I'm not good at that. So it was my first time being able to do that, and it was a really great experience. We set off with intention with Botanical to bring creative women together. Our focus when it began was women, because we felt like we weren't getting invited, we weren't getting to support each other enough, and we just felt like that was a gap that we wanted to fill. It's evolved since then, but at the time, that's what we started off. We didn't even know what we wanted to do. Everyone kept asking us. We're like, we're gonna have flowers and take pictures, and everyone's gonna look great and feel great. We don't know, but it did feel good. And we actually got people from different backgrounds. We felt there was another gap that we felt was happening, like classically, traditionally trained artists, and then self-taught artists. We felt like there was a disconnect there, and we ourselves, neither of us had an undergrad degree at the time, so we both kind of felt like excluded from all of these other events and things that were happening, that the kind of networking you get when you're in an academic space. And so we wanted to kind of bridge that. And then there's things that you miss when you're an academic, when you're not self-taught, like learning how to be creative and how to, I think everybody in this room knows about budgets and you're always creative. So even if you're not an artist with work on this wall, you know about that. And so we wanted to bring people together to talk about those things that we could learn from each other and build that kind of network and community. And then we really, really wanted to do that. And I think we got to do that. So this is actually our first picture that we took together. Ruth, her husband Nate, took this picture, and he actually made up the name Botanical. So thank him for that, because all of our other names were terrible. They were horrible. So Botanical is the combination of photography and botanicals. Ruth obviously is photography, and then on the botanical part, which also not classically trained in flower arranging or anything like that, but I knew I wanted to do that, and I worked really hard, and because of that I was able to do botanical styling with Botanical. And like I said before, it was difficult for us to just really feel bold enough to do that, but we received like more support than we ever imagined was going to happen. And what that let us know is that people wanted it and people felt like it needed to happen, and that felt really good. So it felt good to hear yes, it felt good that people were showing up in all different ways. This is just a screen grab, the next one. Yeah, this is a screen grab of the hashtag Botanical. People would share their personal pictures, and we just thought, sometimes you need to take, the hashtag was intended for people to like appreciate when they saw beauty in the world and to see themselves as creators and composers of pictures, and we just felt really like good about people using the hashtag. That was like the first thing, but then also showing up to events and buying tickets and selling events, and the other part of support that we got is women entrepreneurs were opening up their spaces to us to host these events, and it was different. And I say women, there was like 2 men that opened up their space, but we have those spaces, and it wasn't like, here you go, figure it out. It was, how can we help you? What can we do? How can we support you? How can we guide you? And that felt really great too. And it made me feel like people, maybe they didn't feel that way, and so they wanted to give that back, or they had, and they wanted to also pass that along. So Ruth and I try to do that as much as we could as well, like answering DMs or having conversations with people. It is a lot. We wanted to say yes because we were hearing yes so much, so we kept saying yes to everything. Our first year I went back on Facebook, so I'm like, I don't even know how many events we did. We did 15 events in the first 13 months that we started it. That's a lot of work. If anybody's ever planned something before, it's a lot of work. You don't usually do that many events in that time, and I don't recommend it, but that's how you get experience. We figured it out. We would say yes before we knew what we were saying yes to, and we're like, oh yeah, we gotta watch like a YouTube video or something, I don't know. And I have to thank Ruth, honestly, for the next lesson, because both of us, I don't know if people know, we weren't making any money from Botanical. It wasn't really about making money. It was more about like making the next event better. And so any money that we did make went back into the next part. But I felt like, oh my God, we're doing these pop-ups, and it's just that. We spent all this work and time, and it's gone. And so we wanted to do something more, so we did a fundraiser, and then I learned a lot about nonprofit world, and I heard no a lot, and I was like, oh God. Wasn't ready. I was hearing yes all the time. Wasn't ready for all these no's and all these obstacles. So I was like, I have to get better at this. That's something I need to work on. And anyways, so we were working full time. I got recruited to the Women's Studies program. I was going to school. And I was doing these events and volunteering in all the other spaces because I don't know how to say no. And Ruth was like, you got to say no. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll think about it. So we checked in after those very busy months, those 15 events. We were like, what do we want? What are we getting out of this? What do we want? How does our vision work together? How do our individual visions work? Because we align on a lot, but we still have our own professional careers, and those look very different from each other. So how can we continue this, or what do we do now? And we were always asked, like, what are you guys doing when you're doing your next event? We're like, we don't know. We don't have an answer. So this is how I feel about inclusion. It requires me to constantly check in. So when you have an intention, it's going to go somewhere, it's going to flow, especially if people are supporting you. But if you're not checking in with what you hope to accomplish with that, then you're going to be accomplishing other people's goals. And I think that's what happens with inclusion. You're saying yes to one thing and you're saying no to something else. And so now when you're working on making an inclusive space or making your practice more inclusive, you have to ask the questions, so what and who am I saying no to? And it should be checked in at every point of your project. So as often as you can do it, I would, because you want to stay aligned with your intention. You want to feel authentic. People will feel that. People will know that you've done that work. They'll be able to understand that and feel that. Otherwise, you're going to be saying, I don't actually know what I'm doing. So, which is what we did a few times. And I think that I do need to define inclusion a little bit. I think it gets mixed in with diversity and equality. They're not the same thing, but they are really interconnected, and I think that it's important to think about them. So this is the nerdy part of me right here. So equality is the idea that everyone has access to the same rights, opportunities, status, and resources. These are brief, these also are longer, but just for today, this is what we're going to land on, or what I've landed on. Diversity thinks about the range of human differences and is often related to representation. And inclusion is a conscious act of creating spaces that value human differences and make room for everyone to have access to personal success. I think that we think of race and gender a lot with human differences, but I'm going to read a list of them, and so that way we can acknowledge that we have multiple identities, and it goes beyond that. So human differences include, but not limited to, race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, social class, physical ability or attributes, religious or ethical value systems, national origin, and political beliefs. During my time with Botanical, I became more engaged with the community. Like I said, I got recruited to the Women's Studies program. Someone DM'd me, slid into my DMs and said, hey, I think you'd be good at this. And I was like, okay, I'll try it, because I say yes. And so it was actually great, because I did have this intention of becoming a better leader, becoming more inclusive, learning how to challenge systems that were telling me no. And I got to do that. So, this small idea combined with me checking in of what I really wanted allowed me to say yes to this program. It allowed me to learn and then unlearn my own bias, both those that I projected onto other people and that I internalized. And I want to say that can look like different things. So it looked like what kind of career I could have, how much money I could make, all those things that people kind of put on me, or that I, like I said, absorbed internally, that limited myself. So now I feel limitless, in case you guys were wondering. But my commitment to my academic career and to better serve my community, it forced me to say no to Botanical, which was sad. I did not want to do that. I don't think either of us really wanted to do that. But what was good about it is it really worked for us, because we never attach ourselves to one way that Botanical should behave or how it should look, or we never set it up really for success or for failure. We thought about it should be a business, but it made me I felt weird about making money from people that I was trying to make them feel good. I didn't want to make money from that. So I thought, how can I make it a nonprofit? That's hard. You guys know. And so because we never attached ourselves to this one way it should act, we saw that there's only room for growth. And I think both of us have grown a lot from it, and we're really grateful for everybody that supported us in that. And what we wanted to do for other people, we really got to experience ourselves. So that was cool. So that leads me to my third and final point today. That I like to think of inclusion as manifestation versus goal setting. When you think of it as a manifestation, there's no failures, only misalignments. And everybody knows here that set a goal before, if you don't hit it, you failed, right? So I don't want us to think about it that way. Here's my definitions for manifestation. Manifestation is actively thinking an idea into reality. Goal setting is an effort for or toward the desired result. And I think there's a problem with goal setting inclusion. I think that problem is you will set it up for failure. And I'm gonna read a conclusion, because I want to make sure that I have clarity on what I mean by that. People and cultures should not be thought about in quantified ways because it reduces humanity into numbers, and the human experience then is detached from the people living it. Manifestation then requires you to acknowledge that we're talking about intangible concepts. Diversity, equality, religion, race, gender are all social constructs. I know I'm going to make somebody mad with that one. So manifestation is asking you to reimagine them, to deconstruct them, to recreate them, to embrace everyone, and maybe especially those who were not included before. I'm not here to tell you how to do that, but what I'm saying is the work that I have done to build a more inclusive community has also allowed me to reconstruct the way that I see myself as an individual and in relation to the community that I'm in. Inclusion has afforded me a fluid structure of how I expect to treat myself and everyone else. It is a tool in which I use to dismantle personal bias and forgive myself for what I've internalized. By doing this, there's no way I could see my path as a failure. It's allowed me to see that there's always space for me. It's taught me to check in and as early and often as possible. It's really reframed my journey not as goals to be achieved, but rather an ongoing manifestation of the person I want to be and the world I want to create. Thank you. I didn't say on that
You
many times.
did so good.
Yeah, thanks.
Another round of applause for you.
Thank you. I have a lot of them, probably too many. But right now I graduate in 3 weeks, so yes, I'm very excited about that. So I'm gonna graduate and then I'll be applying for grad school so I can deepen this a little bit more, so.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Japan. Okay, that's inside joke. Okay, so I'm going to say this out loud. I do see myself with a master's degree. I do see myself working with people that I admire. I already do, but even more. And I want to learn more ways and how to deepen my strengths and also get back to some creative things. I don't know if that, see, I go backwards, I just like imagine that it's happening and then something will happen, so I don't know. Creatively. Yes, okay, so I did kind of mention like limits on my professional career or how much money I should make. One of my challenges is that, well, I have a lot of them, right? Okay, but one of them was to see myself as like a leader, like somebody that people should listen to, or that I'm expert on what I'm doing, which I don't feel that way because I feel like there's so many other people that are, but that's a thing, and so many people do believe that, so I should also believe that about myself. And then also just not capping myself, like there's always more after that. So I think goals definitely are important. I'm not saying that at all. Like I have a goal to graduate. Oh, whoa. Okay, that's a side. To get my yoga teacher training, certificate, that kind of thing. I have goals of like things that are attainable and I can get certificate to show, yes, I accomplished this. But also just seeing myself beyond that has been a challenge too. So beyond my accomplishments, beyond what I can put on paper or what I can say that I am. So just appreciating all of that too. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent on there. Okay, cool. I don't know if I was empowering creativity, but I wanted people to feel like their work was valuable and that they were like an active part of the community, and I thought that was definitely a goal of mine. I guess, yeah, to empower people to feel good about sharing their work and being able to occupy spaces where they're going to be supported in that. So yeah, for sure. Ruth told me to. No, yeah. She's not here. I'm like, can you tell I'm kind of sad about it? Okay, so their pivotal moment. I was burnt out. I was irritable. I'm also low in iron, so all those things. But no, but really, there wasn't like one pivotal thing, but it was just like this burnout. And honestly, like I really didn't even know that we did that much until I looked at like our Facebook past events. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it wasn't like one particular moment, but it was a part where I was like, okay, I want to become a better writer, and I have to dedicate myself to that. So it was me really realizing that, and Ruth really guided me through that, it was really, I mean, Joel too. Give him credit. He's like, you're tired, you need to go sleep. So, but yeah, having a support system that really like would support me and show up to things, but also let me know, and I think that's important. I feel really lucky to have that, so for sure. There's things like, with making events that are inclusive, you have to think about the space, like is it accessible? And accessible in many ways, like are they able to get transportation there once they're there? Are they able to walk up the stairs? You know, what is going on there? Also, what time is the event happening? So if it's at a certain time, who is it serving? And also price, you know, if it's free, it's hopefully more accessible to everyone, but if it's not the time they can come, then there's a conflict there. If it costs money, then you're gonna bring in a certain kind of person every time, because some people have money just, you know, to instantly pay the day that the tickets go on sale. Some people don't. Some people have to use their money for other things. So it was really hard to put on these events that we were putting on because we need money for certain things, and so to ask people to spend money, that was always a challenge for me. I always wanted things to be free and inclusive. As far as working, really listening to when people message us, listening to what people needed and what they wanted, that was what works. Yeah. Yes, okay, so can I acknowledge that you're a yoga teacher?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that's one way I learned about checking in with your body and just really like feeling aligned with who you are and the body that you're inside of. And I'm sorry for saying do that, but I feel like that is a good connection. I think having like a personal practice of time, so before any big project, before anything that I've ever done, I always make sure that I hit a yoga class before, because that is when I have my most clarity. So yeah, one, turning off everything. You asked me how to get inclusive practice. Turn off everything, because like I said, you're gonna hear yeses and you're gonna hear nos from people. You're gonna hear people tell you about how things have failed before, which I don't know why everybody wants to tell you that when you're trying to do something, but hey. So yeah, definitely turn everything off, TV, whatever you have to do. I don't know, some people run. I'm pointing at you. I don't run, so I do yoga. So yeah, so those kind of things on a lighthearted sense, but what I've done is really listening to other stories, reading as much as I can, watching, you know, it's cliche, but TED Talks on how other people have done that, and just really learning and listening from other people. But definitely listening that's like huge, because it allows you to really recognize what you're putting out, what that person's perceiving, and how they're internalizing it. And then by doing that, it allowed me to realize what I was doing to myself. So does that answer your question? Yeah, okay, so yeah, there's something that I'm thinking about right now that is, sometimes I feel like I want to say yes to things where I feel like I would be honored in that space, but honored in the space from my perspective, but maybe I'm tokenized. So more recently, sometimes it makes me feel like I want to say no, because I don't want to be like the token black girl there or something. So I guess I'm having a challenge of, am I supposed to say yes to those opportunities, or am I supposed to say no? And if I'm always saying no to those things, and then who is going to be there? And so yeah, so I'm kind of struggling with that. Like if working on projects that I don't maybe feel aligned with, but I feel like I need to be in the room. So. That's a hard one, because I've been going to school year-round since 2017, in combination with all my other things and working. So there are a lot of times where I don't feel like doing anything. I'm like, wait a minute, do I need to take a break? I am lucky enough that I get to travel. So Joel and I get to go places, and he's cool with me going places on my own because he knows I need a break. And so I do have that luxury, but not very, like a lot of people get anxiety when they travel. So you have to find something that, so for me, when I travel, I like to see new places, I like to eat new food. I always see an art exhibit when I'm there. I just feel re-inspired by the journeys of other people. And so I think if you can do that with watching a documentary or reading a book or really actually just sitting down and having a conversation with a friend, I think all those things help you feel unstuck or allow you to say out loud maybe why you're feeling that way. So I recommend all those things. I might be a little biased, but I think the times that it has worked really well is when they're community run. So the people that are running it, that are attending it, that are talking to people, they want to be there. I think those are the events. I think when people plan something without talking to anyone, those are the times they don't work. And I'm not going to name anything specific, but we know the difference. The thing that I love about Fort Wayne, because I've lived a few other places before, and what I love about Fort Wayne that I got to experience here was just when people see somebody doing something, they want to be a part of it, and I think that's really cool. And in other spaces, not to say it's not competitive here, it is, but people want to help and they want to see it and they want to watch you do it. I think that's why the mural work in Fort Wayne's done so well, because people want to be a part of it, they want to see it and be able to see it every day and take a picture in front of it, and I think that's really cool. And so my favorite part of Fort Wayne is the accessibility to each other that we have that you don't get in other cities, and I think that really helps build a community. I think that's been so great. I don't think you get that anywhere else. Okay, so Chanel works, she's worked at, I'm going to just say places that she's been so she knows about creative community. So she was at Jennifer Ford Art Gallery, she also worked for Cinema Center, and then she currently works at Center for Nonviolence. So I feel like Chanel's work is deeply rooted in breaking those boundaries that don't allow people to see themselves as, and you know what, can I talk about your project you did? So she did an amateur filmmaking contest last spring, and you know what was cool about it? So I was included. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like I said, I always say yes. Didn't do it, but here's the deal. Everyone that did it was great. But Chanel really checked in. She checked in monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, every day. And that's the thing I think that happens when we think that we're creating an inclusive space is we're like, hey, we made this for you. You can do it now. And then people don't feel supported once they're in there. And I feel like that project was such a great testament to how it's a lot of work. It is work, and it is listening, and it's asking people how can I support you? What can we do to make this easier for you? And that's kind of what inclusion practices talk about, is how can we create space for people to be successful in, and not just invite them to be there. And that the invitation, it goes beyond that. So I think that's really good. Somebody was asked me a question about resources. I went to a panel back in November, and it was a big organization that they were working on bringing activists in the community into an academic space. So they were sponsoring this work to help them get their projects off the ground or to deepen their practice. And one of the things that happened is the staff members, not all of them had an intersectional background, so they all took a women's studies, they all got women's studies certificates. So that's another way to do it. I don't know, not everybody has access to that, so there are free things online, but sometimes just actually really being in classrooms and being able to talk to other people that are working towards similar goals, but definitely not saying that it's been peachy. We get in arguments all the time. So it's really nice to be able to understand and see other perspectives when you have conversation.